That's what I'm talking about, son. Get you some of that daggone pie.
Woo-hoo! Looky there. There's your bug-eyed big one right there.
Getting started. We're getting started.
Here's what I'm talking about. Gosh dang gorilla.
Let's go, baby. Straight meat. God, look at that biggin.
Well, welcome into the show tonight, everybody. This is the BAM Pod. I'm your host, Big Ed, and I'm here to just tell you right now we got a good show. Went out and got us Ish Monroe. He's going to come in, and we're going to talk a lot about wintertime fishing, how to fish confidently, and I'll tell you what, this guy is out there doing it. You know, he's fishing the West Coast now as the Apex. He's fishing the MLF Pro. He is just out there kicking some butt. So, guys, come on in, sit down, strap it on, because here comes the BAM Pod. Big Ed, Ish Monroe. Let's get it started. All right, guys, welcome into the BAM Pod. I'm Big Ed, your host, and on the line tonight, I've got a heck of an angler. Grew up here in California, loves all the weather we have here, loves the way we fish out here, and goes back east, fishes the MLF Bass Pro Tour, and he is none other than Ish Monroe. Ish, welcome into the show tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, no, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day and giving us the lowdown. We've we talked a little earlier, and we're talking about some of the things that we, wintertime is that it can be pretty tough. The California, we actually have a little bit of a benefit in the fact that most of our fish, one, will still bite, and two, aren't iced over. So that's always good. And so
yeah, no ice.
we wanted to talk to come in and talk to you a little bit about how you approach some of the winter time and what are your favorite techniques. And you let in when I first asked him, he let in with tuna fishing. So I'm guessing that he's not exactly the friend of the big ice and the cold weather. So we're going to go with that he's still out here on the West Coast fishing, but why don't we talk a little bit about some of your favorite techniques here and see what it is that you like to do when it does get these colder weather?
Well, the float and fly is great because it catches suspended fish. I mean, it really very effective on spotted bass and spotted bass fisheries. I mean, I live near the Mother Lode Lake, so, I've got McClure, Maloney's, Don Pedro, Comanche, like, all those lakes are right there near me. And, if I'm going to go fish in the wintertime, I'm going to go chase fish at those places because it's really easy to catch fish. I mean, if you got to go out there and brave in the cold, you might as well catch some fish while you're at it.
Yeah. One of the things I always think about when I see that float and fly is, you got that little bitty bait, you've got, this long rod, you got, light line. Is this still a big fish technique for this time of year?
Well, my team partner actually fished with one of the guys who was kind of the pioneers of it, Ryan Friend. He actually fished with him in a tournament, and Ryan caught an 8-pounder in that tournament on the float and fly.
So I'm guessing that you're probably targeting the numbers. You're probably targeting, I guess, good limits, but you're saying, yeah, you can still catch really good fish with it. And is there any special, what's the tricks and techniques of this? Because I know a lot of people that go out and just, barely get bit on it or barely, can't hardly catch it. What's the big secrets there to really getting, catching fish on that?
It's really not a secret. It's just, and it's really hard to explain, but it's the rigging, the right rigging, having the right line, having the right fly, having the right bobber, having, the simple as even having the right bobber stop or the bobber tie that you have with it, having the right one there. I mean, there's so many different aspects of it that come into play that if you don't have any of those right, you're not going to catch them. And then detecting the strikes. I mean, it took me a few times of learning how these fish bite because, we're so used to crappie fishing and bluegill fishing with the bobber. And once again, that bobber goes under, you set the hook, but it's kind of different than that. And that bobber moves, that's a bite, when you didn't make that bobber move. And then the reel set is each individual bite's a different set, and it's just really hard to explain, and it's something that people have to go out there and kind of learn for themselves. I get so many guys who are like, hey man, can you teach me how to do that, show me how to do it, or can you explain how to do it? And I'm like, you really can't explain it, you just got to kind of go do it.
What's your overall setup for it? What have you found as far as rod, reel, that sort of thing that really works well?
Well, I mean, I'm using a Tatula Elite 3000 spinning reel. I'm using a Tatula Elite 7.6 Seth Fighter hair jig rod, which is a long rod, extra fast action, but it's a light action rod. I'm throwing 20-pound Daiwa J Floral Grand in the chartreuse color so I can see the strikes, and then I team that up with a 7-pound Daiwa Samurai Top Shot.
Okay.
And a fluorocarbon. And, the bobber's the Phil bobber, but once again, having the right size bobber tie, which, Phil makes a great one that comes with the bobber, but that's only one that you need. So you have to buy more. The right bead for it to stop the bead. And then the flies, man, I've experienced, the Spro fly all the way up to hand custom tied ones by, some guys that are here local near me.
Mm-hmm. And it just mattered. You just kind of the day, the water, whatever it is. What is the best, speaking of water, what is the best water temperatures that you really find for, fishing that floating fly?
Oh, the colder the better, and the clearer the better.
Okay. So
it's
you got a bunch of really clear.
When fishing's really tough. Yeah. And when fishing's really tough, that floating fly seems to excel.
But you like it cold, the coldest, so basically when you start seeing your lakes bottom out at that 42, 45, 44, that's when it's time to break
in the 40s, in the 40s, anything in the 40s is great, but they start eating, at the low 50s, a 52, 53, you can catch them on it.
Okay. When you start to see those temperatures like that in the lakes, besides the floating fly, is there any other baits that really pop out to you that stand out and say, hey, this is what you need to start throwing this time of year and really make those fish bite that, in the wintertime?
Well, I mean, you can always catch fish on an A-rig. You can always catch fish on a jig. And you can catch fish on a drop shot and a shaky head, but I'm not going to go do that.
No, that's
no. No.
What's your power fishing? I mean, during the wintertime, is it the A-rig mostly?
It's the A-rig. It's pretty much the A-rig. Yeah.
Okay. There's no, I do it myself. It's one of those things that I love to catch it. Caught my biggest fish ever on it. It's a fun technique. Do you find is there any one specific A-rig that you really like better than the others that makes a lot more, catches you more fish?
Well, the Angler's King, which is available at Fisherman's Warehouse. Mm-hmm. They have their custom one that, it seems to work really well for me. The last year I've been throwing that one, and it's been a really good one. And I'm teaming it up with a rig walker from river to sea, whether I'm fishing, the smaller one when I'm fishing where the spotted bass and the smallmouth are, or the larger one when I'm going to Clear Lake.
Okay. Yeah. Just run it and basic setup, 3 on the bottom, 2 on the top, 1, teasers and 3 hooks, right? So
two teasers, yeah, the 2 teasers and the 3 hooks, and they're pre-rigged with hooks in them, so on the rig walker, so that works out great. And then my teasers are usually missile bait shockwaves.
Okay. Now you tour across the country. Where's your first one? I know you got one coming up soon, you said.
Lake Darbone in West Monroe, Louisiana.
Okay. Wow. Well, they should get to go down where it's warm.
Yeah, we hope, because if it's cold, then fish ain't gonna bite.
Yeah. So, kind of break down a little bit about, what you are all over, because you're all over the place with this, with this tour. You guys have some, really interesting ways you go about it compared to that. But between West Coast and the rest of, how you're doing it, what do you see? How many different techniques, you out there that you really put together from here and bring out there to the West, or bring it out to the other parts of the country? How much of the Western stuff do you really bring out there? Or is it just this is different?
It's not even really different. It's once again, I fish the same stuff there that I do here. I love to flip. I love to punch. I love throwing a frog, and I love either throwing a square bill or a spinnerbait, and you can do it in both places. you can mix the float and fly in a few lakes like Smith Lake or Lake Lanier and things like that. But other than that, I mean, I'm pretty much the same stuff I'm doing on the Delta and Clear Lake I'm trying to do back east.
Well, it seems to be working. You seem to be pretty successful out there, so I'm guessing that's that's always good for with this out here. Now out here we've got a couple more. We got about another month, and things are going to start really changing and shaking up. The end of February into March. When do you really think that it starts out here as far as like you got the Delta, Clear Lake, these largemouth. You talked about some of the spot lakes. You talked about some of that. When do the grass fisheries, the Deltas, the Clear Lakes, when do they start kicking off to where you're throwing some of the more reaction bait? You're looking for that pre-spawn. You're doing that. When do you start targeting that sort of thing?
Well, I mean, Clear Lake right now, you catch them on reaction baits. I mean, you catch them on an A-rig, you catch them on a tactical crank from river to sea. I mean, it's a really good bite right now on Clear Lake with those baits. So the reaction baits are there. The Delta, you can go jerk bait fish and you can reaction bait fish 12 months out of the year. It's just choosing to change your presentation, which is basically pretty much slowing your presentation down, that, makes it work.
As far as, I know that you're not one to pick up the shaky head. You're not, and you go up on the Shasta, because I've seen, you're fishing up there with some of the Wild West stuff, and I don't know if you're fishing it this year, if you did last year.
Yeah. Yep, I am.
Okay. So do you still just totally stay away from the finesse stuff, or when you're in those kind of waters, are you focusing on, what, I'm just going to throw reaction, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, then I'm going to be towards the bottom?
Well, I fish to win, and reaction is the way to fish to win pretty much the majority of the time when you're fishing for those bigger spotted bass. I mean, you can go out there and throw a worm and get, 30 bites a day, or you can go out there and throw a jerk bait or throw an A-rig and get 6 or 7 bites a day, or some kind of swim bait. So,
but they're quality fish.
Yeah, I mean, but they're going to be quality. I mean, I'm fishing to win.
Yeah. We've got this tour. We got this new tour out here, the Apex Tour. I'm sure you're familiar with it. I'm
actually fishing the Apex.
You are? I did not know.
Qualified through fishing Wild West last year.
Nice. What do you think about that? As compared to some of the other, the tours. I mean, you have been fishing everything I've ever seen out here. You fished it, one bass, everything. Now you go across the country. You fished Bassmaster. You fished. What do you think about the whole Apex Tour and how it's going to affect the West Coast?
I think the Apex Tour is great. I mean, it's something for the Western guys. It's a level it's a top level of trying to, achieve getting to, the Bass Pro Tour or getting to fish the Bass Elites. I mean, it's the closest thing that guys out West are going to have to doing that. And so I really do like it. I like the format, and I love the no information. I love the showing up to the lake with no practice and going fishing, because that's the way I love to fish anyways.
Is it something you think can morph into being competitive with Bassmaster and or MLF?
I think from a regional standpoint, yes. But you need that national exposure, television exposure, and, you need the big money to get there. And I don't know if the Western guys are ready to pony up that kind of money to do that.
Right. I think that's pretty much what it comes down to a lot of times, is the amount of money that people are willing to put up to actually fish. I mean,
to win big, you got to play big. I mean, that's just with anything. I mean, you can't just sit here and show up to a tournament, pay $100 entry fee, and expect to win 100,000. No, doesn't work that way.
Doesn't work that way. Okay, well, I mean, it's one of those things that I've talked to a lot of the Apex anglers out here, being West Coast, and they're very, a lot of them are very excited about it, just because it does give them that pro level format here. But it is a question that I've asked a lot of times, is that, if you think do you think you'd ever be able to fish here as a professional and stay as a professional? And by true professional, I mean someone like yourself who gets paid to fish. And I know that I've talked to a bunch.
I'm working on it. Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working really hard. I mean, I would love for the Apex to be satisfying enough for my sponsors.
Right.
And that's what it boils down to. It boils down to the exposure and the level of product that you can sell to your sponsors for them, you know, and I'm literally still working on that.
Right. And that's, you know, and you don't have a crystal ball, but it's one of those things. Do you think that's, you know, achievable in the next 5 years? Or is that something that, you know, the West Coast is so, you know, I mean, you know better than anybody. The West Coast is such an anomaly when it comes to bass fishing. Yes, it's a great sport out here. Yes, it is supported somewhat, but it's definitely not supported the same way it is if you get to, I don't know, Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, pick a southern state, or even pick some of the northeastern states. I mean, it's just not supported as much as it is out there. What do you think we have to do? Do you think it comes down to the anglers, or do you think it comes down to the sponsors?
Bass Angler Magazine is your guide to better bass fishing. Bass Angler is dedicated to helping you catch more and bigger bass no matter what time of year or where you live. This is not your ordinary fishing magazine. Every issue is jam-packed with 30-plus articles from the world's best bass anglers. Bass Angler Magazine is available at bassanglermag.com, Tackle Warehouse, Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's, Gander Mountain, Walmart, and better tackle shops everywhere. Bass Angler also makes a great gift for any angler. Get Bass Angler today and start catching more bass tomorrow. Visit bassanglermag.com or your favorite tackle shop. This is not your ordinary fishing magazine. bassanglermag.com.
It's a combination of both. I mean, we don't get the support from the tournaments from the anglers that those guys get back there. You know, you hold a big bass tournament in California and okay, you get 100, 120 boats at the most. You hold a big bass tournament back in Texas, you get 1,200 boats.
Right.
And that's where the difference is right there is the angler participation and the amount of product that's sold. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I do know. And that's part of why I usually ask that question, is because I think that the West Coast guys really think that, you know, when we get a 200 boat tournament, 100, you know, I think Wild West teams like 3 years ago or something was like 210 or something like that for the opener. And everybody was just like, oh my gosh, it's such a huge tournament. And it's really, perspective wise, it is, because it's the West Coast and that's what we get. But do you think we could ever have a tournament where guys just come out and go, yeah, you know, we should have 500 or 600 boats at this tournament? And do you think we have the waterways
to do it?
Yeah.
We have the waterways to support it, but like you could do it. You could do a 300 boat tournament at Shasta, but you could do a 500, 700 boat tournament on the Delta. But if we don't have the support, I mean, the biggest tournament that I can ever remember in my multiple years of tournament angling out west, it was the 330 boats we had for the Viper boat tournament. And that was 20 years ago?
Yep.
20 something years ago.
That was, it was, it was a day or two.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that because we're both old.
Yeah. And that, and the only reason we got that is because they did a raffle boat in the tournament.
Right.
And that's what got the participation, not the fact is the competitive, you know, the problem that we have, and nothing knocking those circuits are, you know, the BBTs and the future pros who don't allow anybody just to fish them.
Right.
You know, because anglers are scared to fish against pros.
Right.
You know, it's funny that I come back and I fish at home and you guys are just like, oh, well, man, I don't even know why I even signed up because you're here. Like, that's not the attitude to have. I mean, when I was growing up, I had to fish against super hammers. People don't realize how good Dave Glebe was, how good D. Thomas was, Robert Lee, Bobby Barrick, Mark Tyler, Mark Risk. I mean, the list goes on and on. Aaron Martins, John Murray. Let me just start going down the list of West Coast hammers I had to fish against growing up.
Right.
Now, you know, and I didn't have that option to go fish a lower level. And with these lower level events, these guys, they just don't want to show up and fish against pros. So it hurts the pro tournaments.
Right. With I mean, and in couple folds, I mean, one, they don't have to put up the money to actually feel like they're doing something. Two, they can call themselves, you know, pro I don't know, whatever they want to call themselves. I
Yeah.
fish on the front of the boat, so therefore I'm a pro or whatever. You can do whatever you need
Right.
to do that way. I'm one of those guys that's never bought into that. I buy into the fact that if 90% of your, or 60% or 70% of your income comes from fishing, you can consider yourself a pro. But if it doesn't, then you really shouldn't.
Well, that's how I kind of, when I meet so many people, oh yeah, my friend, he's a pro. And I go, okay, what does he do to pay his mortgage? And then they tell me, oh, well, he's a lawyer, or
Right.
he's a contractor or something. I go, he's not a pro then. And
Right.
they go, well, what do you mean? Well, they go, he fishes and he has a jersey and he has a boat. And I'm like, that means that he went out and bought his boat, he paid for a jersey, and he put sponsors on it that are giving him a discount on product.
Right.
And they're like, well, what do you do? And I said, I fish. I literally fish tournaments. That's the way I pay my bills and how I, afford everything that I own.
Right. And there's so much. I mean, I've had this conversation for years with you about these things, and it's one of those things that, you come out here and guys do get into that mode of, I don't want to fish this tournament because you're in it. I mean, I used to hear that all the time when I was fishing one bass. Guys didn't even want, they were pissed off because Gary Dobbins would show up, or they were pissed off because Dave Rush would show up, or Glebe would show up, or, like you said, you could just name them down the list. And it's like, for me, it was always quite the opposite. It was like, good, those guys' money spends just as well as mine. If I can beat those guys, I've actually accomplished something. If I can beat the Ish Monroes, if I can put my name on that, if my plaque goes up and it's higher than his, I've done something in this country, in this sport, this industry. I've done something. If you're just out there beating guys who are, whatever, your local guys, and you're like, oh yeah, I got 60 plaques on my wall. Great. How many boats were in there? 11, 14, 7, 12. Great. What did you do? And why are you so overly proud of it?
I will never. I'll never forget my basketball coach my freshman year told me, hey, when you just go play basketball at the park, you find the best guys to play against, because that's going to make you better.
Of course. That's the whole premise of our sport. When you watch guys like Jordan Lee, come up, there's just a ton of them now that I have a hard time. But when the Luke Clausens, the Wheeler, Daniels, all these guys, when you're watching these guys come up, I mean, it's like they are out there competing against some of the best in the country, not not their local water, not the guy who's the best on Berryessa. No. You're competing against guys who are the best in the country. And did they get their teeth kicked in for the first year or two? Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely, 100%.
Jordan didn't.
Well, yeah, Jordan. Sorry, Jordan. Didn't mean that one, but
Jordan. We call him Baby Goat because he's phenomenal.
Yeah. But I mean, you look at most everybody. I mean, Austin Wilson out here, a hell of a fisherman. Went back east and he flat out came on the show and he said the same thing. He goes, I got my teeth kicked in. Those guys are good. They're real good.
Yeah.
And you think about that. And we talk about
Randy Pearson.
Yeah.
I mean, Randy's super stick out here, and he had a tough season last year.
Yep. And he probably will for, however long he decides to do it or can do it, until he figures out how to change. I don't even want to say you have to figure out how to change. What I've learned about fishing back there is that it's not that different. It's just a different mentality.
Yes.
I've learned
very much so.
I learned really quick that it's like, when we get cold weather, we drop into 60, 70, 80 feet, 50 feet, 40 feet, 30 feet, whatever it is. We go out and do that. When those guys get bad weather, when they're, you're in Florida, you're in Georgia, you're in Alabama, you're in Tennessee, all of a sudden you're still fishing in 3 feet of water.
Right. You're still fishing the same water because the fish are still there. They just changed their way of eating.
Now you just have to break down exactly. And I've watched so many I've watched you for years on these TV shows, watching the events and going, they're still fishing the same. I mean, you can almost say, hey, I'm going to put 5 rods on my boat. And I'm going to have 5 rods on the deck every tournament. And those 5 rods will probably be the ones that you pick up. Now, you may pull a 6th, 7th, 8th one out or whatever and make some adjustments or, tweak this or tweak that. but it always seems like it's the same thing. It's that same spinner bait, crankbait,
Yep.
jig, jig, and then, maybe a Senko or something and a frog. And then, like I said, a little bit of adjustments here and there, but those always jerk baits, those always seem like the same 5 baits you see everywhere. Everybody goes through every one of these. How simple is bass fishing if you really take it to that level?
Well, think about, Michael Bennett is a
Mhm.
prime example.
Correct.
Michael Bennett has won, the Forest Wood Cup. He won multiple tournaments. He'd catch them everywhere he goes.
Mhm.
That dude literally had to borrow tackle to have options. He could put everything he owned in a Ziploc bag, and that dude would catch them. And it's funny because Jordan Lee's just like that. That dude does not have a gang load of tackle out there, and he sticks with pretty much consistent same stuff. And then you have those guys on tour who all they throw is a chatterbait, and they have great careers.
Right.
It's that simple.
It's just a matter of how you break down the water more than actually the tackle itself. I mean, let's not go to that extreme by, decimating the tackle industry, but let's
no, but here's a prime example of it. So I will never ever forget this.
Mhm.
It's probably, this is back in 2000. So this is like my second or third year on tour. We're fishing Table Rock. We got a storm delay, and we're up underneath this shed. And this guy, his name, George Cochran, asked me to tie on a lure for him because he couldn't see underneath the light. Well, when I got his lure, he handed me the box and said, hey, pick out the brown one that's in there, which he didn't have many of them. It was an old school wigglewort that had rusted hooks on it. He tied it on, and the dude went out and finished in the top 10 with that bait.
Wow.
That's how easy it is when it comes to, it ain't always about the tackle.
Mm-hmm. Well,
the difference now and difference then, though, is it's about the technology,
right.
With the side scan, the down scan, the forward view now, the live view, it's Lowrance has basically killed it with the things that they've done along with the other companies.
Right.
And basically it's going to get to a point where you're going to be able to look on your graph and it's going to tell you the size of the bass and if he's willing to bite or not.
Well, okay. Let's hope it gets to there.
I mean,
I could really use that some days.
Well, you got to think about it. What's next?
Right.
It can already it tells you, shows you the structure, gives you a picture perfect view of the tree, where the fish is hanging on the tree, and how he's positioned.
Oh, I keep waiting for AquaView to get with one of these companies, with Lowrance, Garmin, whatever it is, and it's like, okay, so now you're gonna have your AquaView on there, and it's gonna show you where there's fish at, and then when you put it out there, and then all of a sudden it turns into a camera. And the camera shows you that, right. And it zooms in and out and shows you exactly where the fish are. And you can see down 120 feet and you can see what structure they're sitting on. And it's actually just
watch them eat your bait.
Exactly.
Watch them eat your bait. Watch them eat your bait. Yeah.
Well, I guess when we get to that technology, it'll just be like, and why are we fishing anymore?
Yeah, pretty much. It'll be catching, not fishing anymore.
I had a conversation. The last episode was with Nick Cloutier, and we talked a little bit about the old Bassmaster Classics. I know you're familiar with them, and it's like these guys would show up. It's almost like the formats that a lot of these guys are going to now, where they didn't know where they were going. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know much about, the lakes or the body of water until they got 30,000 feet in the air. And then it was like, okay, here's where we're going. Good luck. By the way, you get 10 pounds of tackle in your tackle box and you get 5 rods. Could you ever imagine them doing that to you guys now? And how much
I would love, but the only reason I would love that is because of my confidence level.
Right.
Everybody keeps going, oh, well, you excel well, you excel well because you've got history. Well, I mean, I'll use Mojave as a prime example in Apex.
Right.
The first day I was in 5th place on Mojave, and I've only fished Mojave one other time in my entire life. So I didn't have any history on it.
Right.
But it's my confidence level in the baits that I throw and the decision making that make those differences. So having that format, I would love to have that format. And that's another reason why I'm fishing the Wallace Bass Trail Apex.
Okay, let me ask this. Because I've always thought this would be an interesting concept, is if they had a tournament and when you get to, you get your ride around, you get your run around, your hour, whatever it is. After that, you got to turn your electronics off. How many guys excel after that? No longer are you allowed to use your electronics.
That goes back to the bank beaters who, the best bank beaters.
Right. So do you really think that the electronics mostly just help the guys who fish that offshore stuff? And that's what they're going to base it,
No, because I'm not that guy. And my Lowrance Electronics helped me out with a lot of things, from simple as water temperature to water depth to weather coming in to, the type of bottom that I'm fishing. I could still be in 3 feet of water, but yet I still know it's a hard, rocky bottom. Right. Or if there's stumps around, my forward scan will help me see a bush if there's fish in that bush or shooting underneath a mat. So, yeah, electronics helps out for guys who are offshore structure fishermen and the bank beaters like myself.
At Ford Fairfield, we'll make your ownership experience simple. Our simple price, simple process is designed to save you time by eliminating the back and forth. That means you'll always get our very best highly competitive offer right up front. No games, no gimmicks. Our goal? To provide you with an exceptional experience. Stop by or book your appointment today. Ford Fairfield, simple price, simple process.
Okay. God, with a bunch of that there, there's a lot in there. When you talk about that, you talk about, the different structures and the different things we have, and you have these, these amazing units that can do all that. What is it that you focus on wintertime compared to, spring, summer, fall, whatever? What is your number one winter, structure? If you're going to any body of water and you're like, if I'm starting on any body of water, blind, don't even know, never been to this lake, where are you going? Where is Ish Monroe going first?
Rock, because rock's going to always hold a little bit more heat, and we're talking a half a degree to a degree temperature change could make the difference of getting bit and not getting bit.
Like, so now you're talking like big rock, like, big giant boulders, like
any rock, depending on the lake that you're at. There's certain places that, rock on the Delta is riprap, rock on Clear Lake is lava rock on Shasta is everywhere, pretty much.
Yeah. Like, so when you get, and then how does that relate when you get to lakes like, I don't know, Pickaway, or you get to lakes back east that are, a little bit, that's all there is rock.
And that's where the hard bottom, that's where your electronics show you the hard bottoms. And those are the difference makers. When you find a rock in the middle of grass at a grass bed, that's where all the fish are going to be.
They're going to stay on those. Now, is that rock out there or those clam beds? I learned a lot when I went back to Florida. My eyes were opened up completely when I got back there, because it was like these guys were spending so much time in 8 feet of water, 6 feet of water, 5 feet of water. And I'm thinking, wow, we're fishing, really shallow, and they're sitting in 7, 8 feet of water going, this is it. This is as deep as the lake gets, 10 feet, 8, 10 feet. And it's like, oh, and then that's all they're doing is they're picking apart, going, there's a grass patch out here. You got to find that one hard spot in it, or you got to find that brush pile. We don't have that really. Right. I know that we have brush piles out here in the West, but don't get me wrong. But what I was watching do, and what we ended up catching,
those
fish
are technically illegal
in Florida.
No, in California, you cannot plant brush piles. It's illegal.
Well, other than the ones that actually happen either by nature or by when they have the the Christmas tree.
Is that what we're gonna call it by now? When nature happens, yeah.
Well, that's what they do the same thing in Florida. You're not allowed to put brush piles out in Florida because if you do, you could kill somebody because they know, everybody has to know the routes and the runs. And if you end up putting a brush pile out there and somebody doesn't know it's there, they run into it and die.
Well, the hurricanes transport those trees into the lakes in Florida.
Right.
What do you?
Get that in California. All of our hurricanes put all these brush piles in there.
Yes, all the ones that Clear Lake on this piling on this dock. Yes, you're right. You're right. I forgot about those.
Come on, we had Snowmageddon.
No, the fires. It's the fires. That's what it was. The trees jumped in Clear Lake because of the fires, and they just stayed there because they knew that they wouldn't get burned up by the fires. That's it. I knew there was that's the whole thing.
You may have been watching too much Lord of the Rings.
I have. Actually, one of my most favorite movies. Yes.
The trees are now speaking and they're jumping in the water because I don't want to get burned.
Exactly.
But when you start talking about some of that stuff, these grass, because fishing grass here, I don't know. I feel like when you're fishing grass here in the West, or you pick the Delta, you pick Clear Lake. Those are probably two of our best grass lakes, really to speak of.
Yeah.
And you've done very well on Clear Lake, and it's always been one of those things. It's like when you're fishing that grass, and sometimes it's just this vast patches and vast areas of grass. Where do you start? What do you pick? I mean, other than, like you said, the experience you might have had over the years fishing Clear Lake, yes, that's going to come into effect. But what is it that you first start looking at when you, especially in the winter, because this is like ridiculous, trying to find grass in the winter.
Grass transitions. Excuse me. Grass transitions.
Okay.
Like you're looking from dead grass that's turning into live grass, different types of grass that are actually, you might start off with hydrilla and move to milfoil.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the kind of things. It's just looking at the different types of grass and starting there is, where there's actually a transition.
Okay, so you're not really looking for a certain spot in the grass, other than if you've got a couple coming together, or maybe you're like you said, something going dead and something being alive still. Fish that alive stuff, fish the area between it. When you look at that in the wintertime, is it something that, we talked about, throwing the A-rigs. You're not throwing A-rigs in the grass. You're not throwing. You might throw it down the edge of it. You might throw it, around them. But how do you pick that apart? Is that where you start flipping a little bit more? Is that where you're pitching the jigs, or you're throwing in some, I know you.
No, I'm trying to find it react. I'm trying to throw a reaction bait, a spinner bait, a topwater,
Okay.
Wintertime, it could be a jerk bait to locating the fish. And then that's when you slow down.
And then you start picking it apart. I know you've always been a zoom brush hog guy. You still on those, or?
No, I stopped using a brush hog about 8 years ago, and I switched to Missile Baits Destroyer.
Okay.
It's just got a little bit bigger profile. I needed something with a little bit, just give off a little bit more action and just a little bit more water movement, and the Missile Baits Destroyer does that.
And it's really just been your new key go-to kind of thing when it comes to
I don't
flipping
own a brush hog. I don't even own a brush hog. I haven't owned one for about 8 years now.
Good. Well, I guess you found something you like. Did you help design this?
Actually, no. John Cruz has designed pretty much all the missile baits.
Okay.
And, he's run by me, some ideas on it, but he's had full control and full design, and I like it because he's very different. Like he wants to create a bait that's similar, but completely different. Like you saw the craze when the beaver craze happened, is everybody pretty much knocked the beaver off and made little alterations. John actually took the bait and changed the design and, of it to where now people are knocking off the missile baits D-bomb.
Right. Yeah, definitely. D-bomb is one of my favorites to flip and pitch, especially in the Delta and, Clear Lake and that sort of thing. So it's one that I enjoy. Now, as far as taking that and, has there been any of those that has really stood out to you as far as this is a must have in your boat or in your boat when you go out fishing anymore? Besides the D-bomb.
Oh,
A good, something good, a good finesse bait, the guy, because as much as everybody wants to say they're going to throw nothing but reaction baits, that is, I mean, it takes dedication to do that. I don't care who you are. It takes dedication
but I mean,
to say that you're going to go out and catch 5 fish when you can catch 30. You said it yourself. I mean, there are days when you're going to go to Shasta, you're going to catch 35, 40 fish if you pick up a shaky head and throw a worm on there. But
yeah, I mean, a drop shot's that way, but to me, like, I look at, like, man, that D-bomb is like, it's a jig trailer, it's a chatterbait trailer, it's it's a Texas rig, it's everything. It is my go-to. I mean, it's the only box that I can say that 12 months out of the year lives there besides my hook and my weight box.
Right.
And my spinnerbait box.
Yeah.
But so the next one had to be a spinnerbait,
Right. And what's your spinnerbait of choice?
My spinnerbait Bling spinnerbait from River to Sea. It's got a little bit lighter wire. It's got a different blade. Their willow leaf blade is made out of a different material, so it gives off a lot more vibration and a lot more flash.
Nice. Yeah, that's not to say anything, but that is my favorite as well. It's probably the only, I think awesome. I have maybe one other, but that has been my go-to on everywhere I've fished, and I love that Bling. So good job on that one, by the way. Yeah, I mean, so we've talked about some of the, the floating flies, and you talked to the A-rigs and that sort of thing, jerk baits. So mostly everything I see, except for maybe the spinnerbait. And I'm guessing you can probably alter that a little bit. Do you change up from Willow to Colorado or something during the winter at all? Or do you stick with the Willows and just slow it down?
Yeah, no, I like fishing. We have a bait called Lemonade with a Twist, white and chartreuse skirt with a Colorado red kicker blade and a gold Indiana blade, and it's great for slow rolling. And that's what you got to do with spinnerbait in the wintertime, is slow roll it.
When you talk about slow rolling, are you throwing it out at the bottom and doing kind of like an A-rig, where you're taking it and just keeping it right? You want to feel contact with the bottom, or are you just throwing it out there? Okay.
Yeah, you want contact with the bottom, but at the same time, the blades are turning for the vibration.
Okay, so you do want it down low. You do want it to be right down there where the fish are just sitting and hoping you get that bigger reaction bite out of that. Do you find that wintertime, summertime, whatever, when you stick to baits like that bigger bait, that you actually get bigger bites, or do you get, I guess, do you still get a lot of smaller fish?
No, you don't.
Okay.
You're looking for the big bite. And that's just the way I fish in general.
Right. Yeah. If you're in a tournament, why are you looking for a 2-pounder when you can find a 6?
Well, because people like to catch fish, and they let their ego get to them about weighing in 5 fish over not weighing in but 3 or 4.
Right. Is that something? Well, that's a great point. I guess the question that I kind of get from that is, when you, I've always, let me phrase it this way. I've always said this about tournament fishing. I don't actually have a plaque on my wall that's under 5th place, because I've always had the same kind of mentality that you do. I go out and swing for the fences. It's like, what else do I got to do? It's just money. I'm going to throw it away anyways. So, but does that really become something that when you want to go to that next level, when you want to become that other fisherman? I'm not saying you have to put down the finesse stuff, but I'm saying you want to really go out there and say, hey, I'm either going to catch 5 of the best fish, the biggest fish I can, and if I lose, I lose. It doesn't really matter. Or is it something that you just have to put all of that away and say, yeah, I can only do what I can do, and this is what I'm gonna try? Because the mentality from being a professional angler and the mentality from being an angler who fishes as a pro are 2 separate things I see so many times.
Take the history of tournaments on any body of water. There are a few hand select bodies of water that finesse plays a big role, but the majority of the tournaments, and you even go into Shasta and Oroville and lakes like that, and you see that, if you fish a certain way, which is fishing to win, that's how tournaments are won.
Right. If you grab that big bait, or the A-rig, the A-rigs are a prime example this time of year. excuse me. But it's one that can you catch little fish on it? Yes. Do you always catch little fish on it? No. Do you catch a good number of bigger fish on it? I would say that when you're throwing that bait, what you're looking for is the above average fish. You're looking for something, and let's take Oroville. You're looking for that 3 to 5 pound fish.
Yes.
And that is one thing I was going to ask you to, now that I just brought that up in my head, but I'll keep it on this for a second. And, when you do fish the A-rig, you fish, like you said, the jerk baits, when you fish the spinner baits, when you fish those baits are always going to end up getting you a better fish. How hard is it? And I know that you think this way, but how hard is it to try to get that through somebody? Let's say just out of nowhere, you decide to take somebody out fishing and you're trying to get them to throw that stuff. How hard is it to break somebody of that habit of just going, but I'm seeing all these fish. I want to pick my, shaky head up, or I want to pick my drop shot up and do that. How hard is it to break people of that when they just want to catch fish?
Tired of searching through ads to find bass articles in your favorite fishing magazine? Well, we have a solution for that. Introducing Bass Angler Magazine, with over 30 articles in every issue, filled with tips and techniques to help you catch more fish. Follow the pros as they publish the most up-to-date seasonal methods to catching bigger bass. Whether you're a beginner or professional angler, make Bass Angler Magazine part of your gear today. Be a part of the fastest growing bass publication in the nation. Log on to bassanglermag.com with code TV and save 20% when you subscribe now.
It's hard. It's a stubbornness that I've learned to get.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to change somebody from that, but it's the same thing as it's hard for me to go out and go just fishing to catch those fish like that.
Right. So one of the questions that had popped in, and I knew I wanted to ask you this because your knowledge on our bodies of water, but your knowledge across the country really come into play on this. When you have lakes like Oroville, Shasta, where you don't have a lot of grass, you don't have a lot of cover other than maybe wood, how do you find and locate largemouth on those bodies of water when it's clearly a spot lake?
Fish shallow.
Yeah. Never look for them deep. Just always say, nope, largemouth are always going to be in 5 feet of water.
Yep. That's the easiest way.
And it doesn't really matter about structure or anything like that on these bodies of water. I mean, you're not like going out, you're just like picking the best structure you can find.
If there's zero structure on the lake, then yeah, you have to go out and deep and find structure. Largemouth love structure. But if there's some kind of structure in, shallow water, the fish are going to be there. Largemouth will be there.
Okay. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Cause it's one of those things that, you always see there's, a few guys, especially now. I mean, recently there's been a lot more of an uptick, I think, in the amount of largemouth that get caught out of Oroville, but it is one of those things that you look at it, Shasta is another one that there's just so much predominantly spotted bass. That you're just looking at lakes like that and going, how are guys finding these largemouth at all?
Right.
So yeah, that's one of those things. I guess some of the other really good questions for the winter time and that, what we're dealing with right now going into spring. When do you start looking for those fish to push up, for the next level? What is it? Is it like the first sign of the water starting to tick up as far as temperature wise? Is there something else you're looking for them to start moving into the spawn? I guess from pre-spawn.
I'm always fishing for those fish. I mean, those fish, there's always fish shallow 12 months out of the year, regardless of how cold it gets. I mean, look at guys who ice fish and catch largemouth ice fishing.
Right.
I fish for those fish 12 months out of the year, so I don't ever go looking for them at a certain time or temperature because I'm always looking for them from the get-go.
No, I mean the lake in general. Like, when do the majority of the fish like, okay, this is, it's time to start spawning? We go from that basically wintertime to pre-spawn to spawning.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's the same thing. I mean, it's just they're always there.
There's fish that are always there. Like there's a fall spawn that a lot of people have zero clue about.
I've talked to you about it, a few times, especially on Clear Lake.
Yeah, Clear
When
Lake, Delta, places like that where there's a lot of grass. There's a fall spawn. I mean, I've seen them at Berryessa doing it. I've seen them at Don Pedro. I mean, it's just there's always shallow fish.
Now,
And
let me
you always
ask.
have to remember.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying is there's fish that are always deep. There's fish that are always shallow. So
Right.
the fish deep sometimes bite better in the wintertime than the fish do shallow. So that's why people focus on the deep water bite.
Okay. And by now, when you talk about things like that, let me break that all the way down. When you're talking shallow, are you talking sub 10 feet of water? Or are you talking what do you
shallow's
consider
relative to the lake? Shallow's relative to the lake that you're fishing. I mean,
right?
Shallow at Clear Lake is different than shallow at Shasta. I mean, shallow at Shasta is 15 feet or less. Shallow at Clear Lake is 3 feet or less.
Right. And your contention is that even in this cold weather, whatever, there's going to be fish in 3 feet of water at Clear Lake.
Yes.
Good enough. That's the good answers.
Well, I mean, if you think about the north end of the lake,
right?
The deepest part of the north end of the lake is like 12 feet.
Correct.
Unless you go down by, Henderson or something like that.
Mm-hmm. But if you, so it's just a matter of getting
where
out
those
there.
Where those fish are gonna go? They're not gonna swim out to middle of nowhere into 6 or 8 feet of water with nothing out there. They're gonna swim to that piling that's in 3 or 4 feet of water, and they're just gonna sit there. But they're just not always catchable.
Yeah. No, I mean that's true. That's basically what I'm asking is to break some of this down for people fishing the wintertime. If you want to catch more fish, I mean, this is a guy that we're talking to right now who's been extremely successful in his career. This is not somebody that has not done very well, and he's giving you just hey, stay shallow, fish power stuff, catch 4 fish, 5 fish, and hope that the 4 or 5 fish you caught are the biggest that you're going to get. Because breaking it down even further, I mean, it still comes down to just keep it simple, right? I mean, it's just absolutely go out there. And I mean, I remember tournaments where you were, fishing. I've watched you fish in 2 feet of water, rainstorms pouring down, everything else. And it's just, nope, still in 2 feet of water, 3 feet of water, 5 feet of water. And that's where the fish are at on Clear Lake. They're there.
Yeah.
So, so what do you, how does Ish Monroe, looking forward to this year? How are you feeling about the current year coming up for the old MLF tour? And are you feeling pretty confident this year?
I mean, my focus isn't really on tournaments. I've got a million projects going on right now and just kind of focus on those things and can't wait to go tuna fishing.
Yeah. Is that one of your new passions? I mean, I don't want to say new, but I know you've done it for a while, but now is that the whole offshore fishing, fishing the waters, fishing the Gulf, fishing that sort of thing, that becomes this new passion for you?
Yeah. I mean, it's been a passion for a long time. It's just, the more I get to do it now is the funner it gets.
Yeah. And does that you're still one of the guys who lives in California, stays in California, and then travels about? Is that something that changes in the future if you start pushing more towards that, or are you leaving the bass?
The whole goal, everybody's goal is to retire at some point, and
right.
And what do you do when you retire? You go fishing.
Yeah. What do you think yourself, or looking at yourself going forward, how much longer do you think you want to keep doing this as far as being a professional bass angler?
Don't know.
Obviously you're going to be a fisherman.
Don't know how long to be a professional bass fisherman. Just really don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe when I don't enjoy it anymore.
Well, then it's good to know that you still enjoy it, I guess. So, because you're still doing it.
Yeah.
So that's that's always a plus.
Fishing a lot of tournaments.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as your focus, now you're with the, you're fishing with the Apex and that sort of thing. Ever a chance you back off of the other ones and stay back here?
Don't know. That's a question that I wish I had an answer to.
Yeah. I mean, I know you love California, so I mean, I can see that but it is harder and harder.
Whoa! Don't throw me that makes a loving California. I just don't like any place better than California other than out of the country. There we go.
That's the way to put that. So
yeah.
I was born and raised here too.
Who loves California? I mean,
I don't know anymore.
California that we like.
It's funny because I think that you and I both could have had the same answers for that probably 15 years ago. 15 years ago, we would have had the same answers. It'd have been, oh God, the opportunities here are amazing. The fishing here, the honey, all the different things that are here. I struggle when people ask me that question now. What do you love about California? Not sure. I don't know what.
Pretty much. I mean, and honestly, I could tell you when I get asked that question, I go the tuna fishing in Southern California.
Right.
Now, do I like Southern California? The weather and tuna fishing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think nowadays for us, I mean, especially sportsmen, outdoorsmen, that sort of thing, it comes down to the politics just are so hard to swallow. We're constantly being beat down on, and people may not see it. I think Zach Thompson and I've had this conversation before, and it's people are not aware of how much they are attacking you because they do it so subtly. Small little things they take away, small little bits. They chip and they chip and they chip and they chip, and then pretty soon you turn around and you go, I can't do anything.
Right, exactly. But next time you talk to Zach, just say, I was told to call you Pageant Dad.
Call it what?
Pageant Dad.
Pageant Dad. Okay.
Like, pageant moms, Pageant Dad.
I know.
Yeah. And I give him, you guys said me, Zach, Fred Rambanis, and a couple other guys. We all grew up together.
Yep.
We've known each other for 3/4 of our lives. And so anytime I can harass Zach, Zach used to be the name. We used to call him the mayor of Frank's Track. I mean, we've got multiple, everybody's got their nicknames.
Oh, I interviewed Rambanis and he said the same thing. He was like, yep, the mayor. And then Zach threw it out himself. He's like, yeah, they just keep calling me the mayor of Frank's Track. So, and he's, it's funny. He's still losing guys out there.
Well, I always remind Zach that I have this t-shirt and it is a very awesome t-shirt that he's in a compromising position, I can only say. And wearing something compromising, and it just says the mayor.
Oh,
and I still have that t-shirt. Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to bring that one out. I wanted to bring it out at his wedding, but Kath would have killed me, so I didn't do that. But I'm definitely saving that for the appropriate time, and that one might pop up at an Apex event or something like that, and definitely, payback for all the years.
Man, I hope I can be at that event when that pops out and have the pictures of that one. That'd be great.
I might have to just text you. I might just have to text you a picture of the t-shirt.
Yeah, I'll keep it on the down low. It's
no. You definitely.
I'll wait
to him and.
Yeah, text it to me.
Yeah,
I'll make sure he sees. I'll make sure Cass sees it.
Oh no! That one might get him divorced because she'll question.
Too many questions in there, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. So okay, Ish. Well, hey man, it's pushing on to our hour now. We're gonna give you that time, get you back out there. I know you got a lot of things on your plate, man. I really appreciate you taking the time, stepping up, coming up here and talking to us here on the BAM Pod. Guys, if you haven't followed this guy, there are people out there that don't know who you are, which is unfortunate because you are one of the definitely true great ambassadors for this sport, man. You've always had a passion for it. You always love it. And you speak very highly of this in general. So if you're not out there and paying attention to this guy, watch him. You got anything out there you want people to focus on at all besides your tuna trips?
I mean, you can go find me on Instagram. I mean, Ish Monroe Professional Angler. same thing on Facebook. Fish for Ish on Twitter for the people that still use Twitter. And that's about it. Catch me on the water. I'm at Fisherman's Warehouse a lot. That's a great place to find me for if you want info. I'm always around, and you can get a lot of info from me, just hanging out there.
All right. Well, Ish, congratulations on all your success over the years, man. I fished against you for years, and I really, I think you're one of the best guys out there on the water. I
appreciate it.
Yeah, I want to say thanks for coming on tonight, and good luck this year with all your different, with the Apex, with the MLF, all that stuff. Love watching you out there. Love seeing you guys. Love seeing you do this stuff. So, guys, we're going to sign off right now, and we will talk to you on the next one. We'll see who's coming up after this one. So tune back into the BAM Pod, and I'm Big Ed signing off. Have a good night.